Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Andrew Yang, and we're specifically going to talk about my theory that on CNN Detroit Debate Night 2, Andrew Yang dog whistled that we, America, would colonize Mars. All right, so I haven't heard anybody say this. I don't think anybody else really is tracking this right now, and I think I'm the first on this, right? But let me give you my. It's a theory, so I need to present my evidence, and then we can discuss, and you can let me know what you think. All right. So first of all, let's talk about where he said the dog whistle. It was specifically, he was asked a question about climate change, right? And Andrew Yang said the following. He said, "This is going to be a tough truth, but we are too late. We are 10 years too late. We need to do everything we can to start moving the climate in the right direction, but we also need to start moving our people to higher ground." And when I heard this, I was like, "What?" it was really odd. It really struck me as odd because, just like a lot of Yang wonks, people who are just listening to everything Yang says. I really hadn't heard him talk about this in detail before. I have heard him repeat many, 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 specific points, and I never really heard him talk about this much, moving our people to higher ground. I thought, that's really odd. Why would he choose to say that here? Okay? All right, so first of all, what did he dog whistle? I think he dog whistled, we, America, are going to colonize Mars. Okay? Who did he dog whistle to? The very smartest Americans. All right. One thing I want to make super clear is I think the media has become incredibly clear that the media is the absolute largest obstacle to any politician getting their true message out, right? And so, when politicians have the cameras, they're so desperately trying to talk to a subset of Americans. You really can't talk to all Americans at the same time. But I think here he was dog whistling specifically to the smartest Americans. All right. Why was he dog whistling? That's a really legit question. So I'm gonna give you my evidence. All right. Now it's a moderate amount of evidence. It's very clear to me. I think this is very true, but I'm gonna present my evidence. So here's my proof. My proof is that Yang is a genius, right? And really, who cares about space? Absolute geniuses, right? So let's talk about Yang and why we know he is an absolute genius, right? For one, he's double Ivy League. He went to Brown and he went to Columbia, right? You know who else went to double Ivy League? 16 of 45 presidents. More than one of three presidents were double Ivy League. It is a very, very big deal. It is a major criteria for being president, right? Or like if you have this criteria, there's very few jobs that really are on your docket except be president, right? Like if you're double Ivy League, you're like, yeah, I'm about to rule the world. Let's do this, right? It's just a thing, right? And Yang is double Ivy League. Nobody's talking about this, and he can't talk about this, right? Because Andrew Yang needs to win people who eat cheeseburgers and drive Ford F-150s, right? And frankly, not a ton of those people are double Ivy League. And if you are double Ivy League, there's a really good chance you don't eat cheeseburgers or drive a Ford F-150, right? Unless you're doing it completely for the optics, right? So, like, he can't talk about this, right? And frankly, in the election, we've seen this. You have to hide genius. You have to hide brilliance from the American public. You can't just have bald out there brilliance. It doesn't work. It's not allowed, okay? So who cares about space? Geniuses. Let's talk about them. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, right? Richard Branson. There you go. All three of them are absolute rock solid geniuses, right? And they all have dumped billions of dollars into outer space, right? So, like, if you do the math, geniuses care about space, right? If you do the math, Yang is a genius. Double Ivy League. You don't get through two Ivy League schools without being a genius, period, right? And so, so I really feel the math would indicate that when you say we're going to higher ground, he ain't talking about Denver, right? Like, we wouldn't all fit there, right? He is talking about Mars. I really believe Andrew Yang on CNN Detroit Debate Night 2, Andrew Yang dog whistled to the world that America is going to colonize Mars during his presidency. It's my opinion, okay? My theory, and the biggest evidence I have so far is this genius evidence, okay? All right, let's keep going. Why would he need to dog whistle this? Why couldn't he just say it outright? There are many reasons. Let's get into them, okay? First and foremost, climate change has proven to be a boondoggle in the 2020 U.S. presidential primary Democrat race, right? Jay Inslee, fiercely focused. Those are CNN's words. Great words. It's really good. It's a really good term. He's fiercely focused on climate change. Nobody cares. Like, Jay Inslee isn't moving at all, right? Like, it's his number one concern. And frankly, Americans are like, I don't care. Like, and the reality is, you get no points for talking about climate change, right? Jay Inslee is proof of this. The Green New Deal. Green New Deal had one of the best, most prominent, most like baller politicians alive today, AOC, right? Couldn't move an inch. Could not move a single inch with the Green New Deal, right? So, climate change is like, it's nothing. It's just a huge boondoggle that you get no points for, okay? Next, this is a big one, the UN 1967 Outer Space Treaty. It reads, outer space, and it is speaking about the moon and Mars as well in this celestial bodies. Outer space is not subject to national appropriation by claim of sovereignty, by means of use or occupation, or by any other means. Right? So in 1967, America's like, boop, 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 I signed this little thing here where we really can't colonize any celestial bodies, right? That would seem like it's a problem. I'm going to tell you in a minute why it's not a problem. All right. But it's a minor problem. It's a minor problem. It's a bump in the road, right? And I'll tell you why it's a bump in the road. All right. Here's the next one. The help here herd, right? This is like, we can't be, oh my gosh, this drives me crazy. I hear it all the time. We can't be building colonies on the moon and Mars. We got people right here who need help, right? It drives me crazy, right? It's the help here herd, and it is small-minded, and it is really not understanding that when we do these huge accomplishments, there are benefits that make it so that we as a nation are better off, and that people who have a lot can help people who don't. And the reality is, right now in America, people don't talk about this. There's a lot of talk about how bad we are, but the reality is, you can't starve in America, right? Like, there's no, like, we've solved starvation, we've solved clothing, right? The only real problem we have is shelter. Like, we've solved food, we've solved clothing, and we've really solved shelter, right? The only people who are really struggling with shelter at the macro level, there's a few exceptions. At the macro level, shelter issue has nothing to do with shelter. It has to do with an entirely another huge issue that America has that is not shelter specific, right? So basically, shelter is a symptom of a much larger problem that millions of Americans do struggle with, that we are having a hard time controlling, okay? All right. So the help here herd is a big problem. That it's another reason why he had to dog whistle this, why he couldn't say it outright. Okay, all right. This is a huge topic, and we got to open it up. All right, rules and laws have become optional. Right now, I can hear all you Democrats out there going, rules and laws are not optional. Well, that's a really new opinion for you guys, right? So one, I am a registered Democrat, but I've also been a registered Republican, right? And frankly, here's the key, right? So here's the flow of this, right? So I remember Will Smith. He's one of my favorite Hollywood stars, and there was a show on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where he went to this private school, and they said, you have to wear a uniform, and he's like, man, my style's too dope for that. I'm gonna wear, I ain't gonna just wear a uniform. So he flipped his jacket on backwards, like he turned it inside out, right? And now he's wearing this jacket that looks different than everybody else in the school, right? Now the reality is, he broke the rule, and at minimum he broke the spirit of the rule, but he looked cool, right? And so everybody's like, oh, look how cool it is to break the rules. And it started there, right? Where did it go next? Bill Clinton. Boom, here's the president, right? There's a whole bunch of rules, right, about how you should treat your coworkers. Boom, he ignored those, right? And the Democrats, whoop, co-signed. They co-signed it big time, right? And you can see they are haunted by that choice now. Absolutely haunted by that choice now, right? Next was Willie Nelson, right? So Willie Nelson's like, I know you guys are thinking about breaking rules, I'm going to break a law. And everybody's going to laugh about it. And you know who's going to co-sign me, Willie Nelson, ignoring a massive law, right, in virtually every state I roll into? Well, the music industry's going to co-sign it, and Hollywood's going to co-sign it, right? So here's a rule. Here's a literal law that I'm openly ignoring that everybody's laughing about, but it's set, and the Democrats were right there. The Democrats co-signed with the music industry and with Hollywood on the law that Willie Nelson was ignoring, right? So here we are, right? The Democrats are all like, "Oh my goodness, Donald Trump is ignoring this obstruction law. He's ignoring this law. He's ignoring this rule." And like, here's the problem. You co-signed all this years ago. Years ago. The blue and the red can point fingers. We all co-signed ignoring laws, and rules, right? And that's, like, Trump looked at it. He's like, "Oh, hey, look at Willie Nelson. He's ignoring a law there." And then he looked at the Democrats and like, "You guys co-signed all this, right? Like that we can just choose which laws that are important, and we can choose which laws that we choose to follow. Hold my beer," right? Like, like he's like, "Yeah, I can ignore rules and laws too," right? So, and that's why the 1967 UN Space Treaty don't mean a thing, right? Because in America, it's just totally cool now, co-signed by the blues and the reds, to ignore rules and laws. It is a mess, right? Decriminalization has turned out to be an absolute nightmare. And now the Democrats, with Trump running roughshod, ignoring rules and laws left and right, they're going, "Oh no, look at what we created." Yeah, it was a problem, right? Laws should matter. All laws should matter. Like, that's the point, right? And decriminalization is a problem. If you got a problem with the law, you need to fix that law. Don't do this lazy law policy where you decriminalize. And I'm looking at you, Obama. I voted for you twice, but you should not have decriminalized what you decriminalized. You should have done the work and made the law right. Okay? All right, so that is why he needed to dog whistle. All right, last subject. Let's talk about why it would be amazing if Andrew Yang was doing exactly what I was saying, and he was dog whistling about colonizing Mars. Okay. All right. One, it leaves China in the dust. It leaves them so far behind, right? Like, whoop, right? We're just out there, right? And that is really awesome and cool. And it does it in a way that's not, that is nonviolent, right? It's not a skirmish. It's not a battle. It's just like, hey, we took our tech and we zipped past you like you were standing still, right? It puts China in its place, and it does it in a nonviolent way. It's awesome, okay? One, it lets America colonize with zero casualties, right? America is a frontier country. We need land. We need expansion, right? But we look back and we go, hey, man, when we took over America, look at the Native Americans. By the way, I'm a Native American from the Mattaponi tribe. And the thing is, Americans are going like, hey, that wasn't cool what we did, man. We took that land from those people. It really wasn't cool, right? And colonization was a huge problem, and Britain is still dealing with it right now. They fought a war in 1982 with Argentina over the Falkland Islands, right? People died, like close to 1,000 people died in that war, right? But here's the thing: colonizing Mars, zero casualties. There's no one there, right? We can colonize that safely and peacefully, right? It's perfect for colonization, and America desperately needs expansion, right? All right, it solves climate change. As soon as you get a colony on Moon, as soon as you get a colony on Mars, you start moving people off. Let's move half our people to Mars, and then everybody gets to live like a baller king. Everybody gets an American, an American muscle car, right? Everybody gets to eat cheeseburgers and keep their Ford F-150 instead of eating hummus and doing yoga, right? Like, it's just better. It's a way better model. Way better model, right? It's awesome. Last one, it's a huge leap forward in technology, right? In America, we are always ahead of the curve on technology, and this will be an absolute put the stamp down and hammer it in with a sledgehammer. This will catapult us forward with technology. I'm talking mass drivers. I'm talking, shuttles. Getting tons of ore, off the moon, water from the moon. Like, it's huge. It is huge. It will put us into science fiction level technology, right? And Yang's exactly the guy to do it because he's used to getting money and building huge things. He's Silicon Valley. They love him there. He's part of that culture. He's part of startup culture, and he would knock this out of the park. My theory is that on the CNN Detroit debate night 2, Andrew Yang, when he said higher ground, was actually dog whistling to the smartest Americans. We're going to colonize Mars. I think it's awesome, and I think I'm right. What do you think? Do you think I'm wrong? Let me know in the comments below. And please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.